Ciao friends, and welcome to Simple Italian Cooking. I've got a good one for you today. My name is Liz, and today we are going to be making a pesto without any cheese. Is that even possible? Yes, it is. So it tastes really good. So a few different things I want to talk about. I'm going to talk about the ingredients that I'm using. So this recipe is really good for anybody who has to stay away from dairy. Okay, so it's a dairy-free recipe. We still do use nuts, okay? Now, technically, you can remove them, but there's something different that we did with them today. So let's go ahead and talk about the different ingredients so that we can go ahead and do a really easy recipe. I mean, literally takes minutes to do. Of course, it's going to take a little longer today because I'm talking about all the ingredients. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, first off, the basil. Okay, I'm using about 2.5 cups of basil, but I'm adding something. You don't have to do this. Now remember, you know, with a lot of my recipes, I'm very, very flexible. By the way, if you like Italian recipes and you like it when they're easy and simple to make, then make sure to hit this like button and make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification button so that you can get notified. Also, I have a link below in the description so you can sign up for my newsletter and be a part of that. And I send out recipes and all cool stuff. So, okay, so 2.5 cups of the basil, but then I'm also adding, my husband's going to be like, what? But actually, this is very common, is I'm adding some parsley, just a little bit. I don't want an overpowering part. I'm not making a parsley pesto. I'm just adding a little bit in because I want to get a little bit more different types of flavors in this particular pesto. Now, you'll notice I'm taking off the leaves. I don't want the stems. So make sure to get the stems out, not just of the basil, but definitely of the parsley. So all we want are the leaves, just the leaves. Don't want these stems because they're going to have a hard time chopping up because remember, we're not really like blending it over and over and over again. We want a little bit of texture in there. So I think that's good. I think I've got them all. All right, so we covered the basil with a little bit of parsley. Fresh, of course. I'm using Genovese basil. If you don't have Genovese and you don't know what kind of plant you have, I'm sure it's totally fine. Okay, so now we're going to talk about pine nuts. So I did something a little bit different this time. I actually toasted the pine nuts, and what that does is it makes them just a little bit more depth to them and a little bit more, I guess, nuttiness to it because we really want to up the flavor where we can because I tell you, in a regular pesto, you're putting in a lot of cheese, and that cheese goes a long way and really gives you a lot of flavor. So this is a different type of pesto. If you want that real salty, cheesy, this is not the recipe for you. Okay, so what I did was I just put it in my stainless steel container here, baking pan. You can use any kind you have, and I just baked it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 6 minutes is what you want to do. You don't want them to burn. You do want them to toast a little bit, but don't get that burnt flavor in there. So I have that here, and what I have is 3 tablespoons of pine nuts, okay, because I really want to compensate for not having that cheese. All right, so I'm going to definitely add in a garlic clove, and I smash it so that it's a little bit easier to blend up. Don't worry about chopping it up or dicing it. Just throw it in your food processor, and it will take care of that. And then with the olive oil, extra virgin cold pressed, first cold pressed, and I'm using 1/3 cup. Okay, so some recipes may call for 1/2 cup, but because I'm not using the cheese, the quantities are going to be a little different. And then because I'm not using the cheese, I'm going to definitely be adding my own salt because I want to enhance the flavors that are in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Basically, the principle is you just dump everything in and then you pulse it a few times till you get the desired consistency. If you don't have a food processor, then what you can use is like a NutriBullet, a Magic, any type of blender that's on the smaller scale. If it's too big of a blender, the blades aren't going to be able to get all the leaves, so you want to make sure that it's going to be able to grind everything up, which is why a food processor is really nice because you have the blades like this and it does a good job at cutting it. Okay, So I'm going to go ahead and add in the parsley. And again, you're probably barely going to be able to taste it. My husband might. He's got quite the taster. I always said he should have been a professional taster. He's really, really good with that. Actually, his whole family is. They should have contests of who can guess the ingredients. That would actually be a really good game. Okay, so we go ahead and add all this in. I missed a stem. I'm going to go ahead and add in the garlic before I forget. Okay, I'm going to add in the pine nuts. Add in the salt before I forget. I'm going to add that in. Do this to taste. If you don't want any salt, don't put it in. Or if you just want to do a little bit, because remember, you can always, salt is one of those things that you don't have to blend it. So if you want to add more salt after you blend it up, but you really like the consistency and you don't want to change it, then just add the salt and stir it in with a spoon, okay? You'll be okay. And then now what we're going to do is go ahead and add in the olive oil. Okay, I'm going to plug it in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by pulsing it for about 2 seconds at like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, okay? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. All right, let's see how that looks. Okay, pine nuts are not, that's still pretty, didn't really do much, so I'm going to do it again, and so I'm going to do it longer. Smells good. I like that. That's really good. That is really, really good. I really like how this came out. I might add a little more basil. Well, I don't know. This is really good. I'm going to leave it as it is. So I would recommend 3 cups of basil. Parsley, I like it in there. It doesn't, I can barely taste it, but it's like, man, everything really, really blends well. And so this, my friends, is how you make basil without cheese. So I'm going to go ahead and clean spoon here. Okay. So I'm going to unplug this. Always unplug. I'm going to take the blade out here. There are so many variations to this recipe. So you don't even have to use pine nuts. You can use walnuts. You can use cashews. I think walnuts would be good because I think that has a high oil content. I don't think I would toast the walnuts though. Well, you could for a little bit. I would just do it a few minutes and that's it. I really like using silicone. It just does such a better job at scraping for this type of stuff. Okay. And here you have it, friends. This is a delicious pesto without any cheese, and it tastes absolutely delicious. So the question is, how do you use it? What do you use it on? And how do you store it? So no problem, super, super easy. I recommend keeping the pesto in small containers, unless you plan on using it all up within 5 days or a week. If you're going to freeze it, I would put it in small containers. So even like ice cube trays, put it in, let it freeze and harden, and then pop them out, put them in a bag or in a yogurt container or something that you can keep in the freezer. That's something that I would really do. So that's a good way of storing it. Otherwise, it'll just keep it in the fridge. In terms of what to use this for. Now, remember, we toasted those pine nuts. So that flavor, that slight toasted flavor is coming through. And you know, in some respects, you don't even need as much garlic because you don't want to compete too much with the other ingredients. So make sure that garlic clove is not super large, okay? And it does give it a kick because remember, this is raw garlic. We didn't cook it. So it's going to give you a punch there, okay? But I think this would taste really good with some pasta, such as penne. You could use it with linguine. You could use it with rigatoni. You can use it with orchietti, which I think would be really good. Lots of different types of. Check out my written blog post because I'll give you more ideas in that than I can in the video. And remember, so and the link is obviously in the description below, where you can also sign up for my newsletter. I'm probably gonna serve it on some toast. I think that'll be really good. Oh, one other thing is, if you don't want to toast your pine nuts and you don't want that toasted flavor, that's optional. You don't have to do that. I just think it kind of gives it a different flavor, which is nice since you're getting away from that cheese. But if you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. But this is great. The consistency, honestly, the consistency is perfect for me. So if you want it smoother, do it smoother. But whatever. Do what you want to do to your taste. I hope you've enjoyed this recipe, and let me know if you have your own tips for making a pesto with no cheese. And let me know down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Well, thank you so much for watching. Grazie e ciao.